Live with studios in Midland and Odessa, you're watching CBS7 First Alert News at 9 on the CW West Texas.
We've got some of the best cowboys in the world, and they'll see the best of everything right here.
Tonight saw the kickoff of the 91st Sandhills Stock Show and a rodeo. Coming up in just a few minutes, we take a look at what goes into making this event possible. Thanks for joining us for CBS7 News on the CW, and thanks for joining us live on the CBS7 YouTube. I'm Lauren Munt, and we start tonight with an update.
Are fully recovered today with a much brighter attitude, and just ready for her forever home is really, a great story.
About 5 months ago, we brought you coverage about a dog who suffered severe chemical burns at the Midland Animal Services. But now she's ready to be adopted. This is Lily, and thanks to Fix West Texas and a fundraising campaign, she's been healed with just a few battle scars left behind. And now she's currently looking for a new place to call home.
It was a bit of a challenge when we found her, but we were not in any way, shape, or form going to not pull her from the shelter once we saw that. We were taking her so we could get her fixed up.
If you're interested in adopting Lily, you can contact Fix West Texas. And tracking crime now, where earlier today, the Jeff Davis County Sheriff's Department responded to a bomb threat. The county courthouse, library, and other facilities were evacuated, and the Brewster County Sheriff's Office sent a bomb-sniffing dog to assist in clearing the affected buildings. County Judge Curtis Evans said in a statement, quote, "The threat was taken very seriously. We did evacuate and follow the protocol to see what substance that threat posed to us. Finding none, we went back to work." And Midland International Air and Spaceport is back to setting personal records after the COVID strain. 2023 numbers show a strong bounce back, and officials say growing numbers help with a number of things like grant money, competitive flight prices, and more. CBS7's Hannah Brock visited the airport and the Midland-Odessa Transportation Alliance. She has more on what this means for Midland. Hannah.
Not only are fiscal year numbers up, but end-of-year totals will also set a record. Though December passenger numbers aren't available yet, the airport says it's already surpassed last year's total.
Gone are the days where you can arrive 30 minutes before your flight takes off and get on board.
The Midland Airport saw 661,842 enplanements during fiscal year 2022-23. That's up by 9% from 2021-22. Airport data deals with enplanements.
Enplanements are people physically getting on a plane here and leaving.
The airport doesn't focus on if passengers return. Enplanements have increased nearly every year over the last 10 years, with COVID as an exception. Passengers have increased about 32% over that time.
So that's a big part right there, the big hit that we saw to travel and the travel industry over the years. Bounce back from that and actually surpass that.
Both Ruff and Beecham credit business travelers for much of the increase. Even though December numbers aren't in, Ruff says the airport is already topping last year's end-of-year total.
Right now we're trending because our numbers are in for October and November, but not December yet. We're about 7% over last year. So we're already beating our record from last year.
More passengers benefits both the airport and future flyers. Beecham says MAF passengers pay hundreds of dollars more for tickets compared to other comparable airports. He says MAF has experienced high demand with few options, plus a majority of flyers who buy tickets just days before flying.
So as we add additional flights, as we bring in additional air carriers, the hope is that that's going to add a competitive input to this market, and that's going to help us see some relief in those fares.
Official numbers for the month of December will not be available until later this month. Ruff says the airport may consider expanding parking as airport staff don't foresee a slowdown in growth. For CBS7 First Alert News, I'm Hannah Brock.
Let's talk your weather forecast now with Chief Meteorologist Tom Teefer-Teller. Tom, it didn't really seem like good travel days out there with the rain.
No, it was a little messy today, a little cloudy and very chilly out there, but the rain has cleared out. Not before we saw 1/100th to 5/100ths of an inch, so not a lot. Just a little bit of rain, though, across the area, and we are seeing chilly conditions behind this storm system that has pushed all the rain now over towards the hill country into the big country right now, West Texas. We are dealing with clearing skies across the area. Still some showers up towards the Lubbock area, but things are dry and cold across the Permian Basin, already dropping down into the upper 30s out there as that wind continues out of the west. Strongest over here in the mountain areas around the Eddy County and also down towards Alpine, gusts to 31 miles an hour. So when you add in that wind chill values feels more like freezing in some locations across the Permian Basin. So a cold night on the way, but milder conditions, a little more sunshine in the forecast for the weekend. We'll talk about that here in a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Tom. The first rodeo of the year has arrived in Odessa, Texas, and it's an event that's a year in the making. The animals and the kids that are showing off the animals travel from all across the state. For this Texas major, many start presenting the cattle before they're even 10 years old. They get an animal as a baby on a farm or a ranch, and they raise and train that animal to present at shows like Sandhills. Preparations go beyond learning how to present the cattle. In the days leading up to the show, the animals are transported, fed, cleaned, and practiced with.
So these are truly year-round projects for these exhibitors. Show day, show week, it's intense, but it's the year-round preparation, the feeding, the grooming that they do that truly makes a successful project in the end for them.
But in order for these kids to showcase their animals, first the arena has to be prepped. 70 trucks of dirt and earning sponsorships is what goes into making these shows possible.
Hey, you got to be still.
They don't sort out the horses until weeks before the show begins. Bucking horses, bulls, steers, calves are all brought and kept by Butler and Son Rodeo Company.
We'll feed it every day, grain it in the morning, give it hay in the afternoon. We've got about 90 head of horses back there, so we got to sort the horses every day, get the right ones up to the building for the rodeo. Just kind of make sure everything's up here for the rodeo at night.
The Sandhills Rodeo will be at the Coliseum until the 13th of January. And over the next 3 days, over 700 animals will be shown off for this year's Sandhills Stock Show. When it comes to the stock show, you can find cattle, goats, and even a couple of lambs. The Sexton family has been raising cattle for the last 4 generations, but for the last 4 years, Augustus has been coming to the Sandhills Stock Show and Rodeo.
Oh, it's great. I love this show. I love how it's all laid back. It's just Hereford. It's my favorite breed. Everyone's like family here.
If you want to come out and see the competition, it'll start tomorrow and go on through Sunday. And we're turning now to news across Texas, where the Biden administration is trying to block a Texas law that allows state and local law enforcement to arrest and deport people suspected of crossing the border illegally. Meanwhile, the White House and Congress remain at a standstill over legislation that would include border security. Yesterday, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson led a group of GOP lawmakers to Eagle Pass, Texas, to get an up-close look at the border crisis.
Catch and release program has created part of this problem. You could end catch and release.
It's very nice that they have a trip to the border, but the only way to solve this is here, working in a bipartisan way.
And negotiations continue towards a package deal that would include border security and money for Israel and Ukraine. President Biden sent his top cabinet officials to Mexico last week to discuss this issue. And Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is pushing back against Republican critics who say he purposefully is trying to fail at managing the southern border. Attempted border crossings reached an all-time high in December, and the White House has asked Congress for nearly $14 billion to hire immigration judges and agents, fund shelters, and provide surveillance technology. A bipartisan group of senators and the White House are trying to broker a compromise to combine that funding with policy changes. In an interview on CBS Mornings, Mayorkas says he has no time to play politics. And today, a father and son duo are behind bars, arrested in the deadly shooting of a pregnant teen and her boyfriend in San Antonio. The couple went missing just days before she was scheduled to have her baby. CBS's Jared Hill has the latest.
1 week after a Christmas-time tragedy, a son and his father in handcuffs.
You don't even know what's going on.
Ramon Preciado to reporters late Tuesday. His 19-year-old son, Christopher, is facing capital murder charges. The 53-year-old charged with abuse of a corpse. The arrests in connection to the deaths of pregnant 18-year-old Savannah Soto and her 22-year-old boyfriend, Matthew Guerra.
Christopher, we believe, committed the murders. of Matthew and Savannah. It appears to be a narcotic-related deal that went bad.
I'm just praying to God. That's all I can do is pray.
The couple was reported missing in late December, then found shot to death in Guerra's car several days later. Police released this surveillance video last week showing two persons of interest, one driving Guerra's car very close to where the bodies were found. A local nonprofit volunteered to help with burial costs for the mother-to-be and her unborn son.
We'll be doing our 49th and 50th burial when we help with Savannah and Fabian.
The couple's disappearance just one day before Soto was scheduled to be induced.
We thought we were going to be growing as a family in 2024.
Now, 3 lives cut short. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Authorities say there could be more charges in the case, but they aren't looking for any additional suspects. And now for a look at today's top headlines. They're shown here in real time with real viewers on CBS7.com. You can see all these stories and more just by downloading our app or going to our website, CBS7.com. And still ahead, winter weather is expected to hit both coasts in the days ahead. We take a look at the weather across the nation next on CBS7 News at 9. Over the weekend, winter weather, is expected to hit the east and west coasts. Several parts of California are digging and driving out of several inches that have fallen since Wednesday, while parts of the northeast and mid-Atlantic are bracing for snow, rain, and potentially damaging winds throughout the weekend. Laura Aguirre has more on what residents in these regions can expect.
We've been waiting for the snow to come, so for it to start dumping like it is right now, we are just overjoyed.
Some residents are happy for a snow day or two in the higher elevation counties northeast of Los Angeles, widely blanketed in snow that started falling Wednesday. While neighbors to their north in the Sierra Nevada mountains saw up to 15 inches of snowfall in some areas. For one ski resort employee, the notable accumulation after a relatively mild winter so far was a welcome sight.
It's definitely good weather for skiers and snowboarders.
Winter weather alerts and storm warnings now pepper the Four Corners region through Friday. That's Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, according to the National Weather Service. Some of those areas could get over a foot of snow, while parts of the southern and central plains could see up to 5 inches through Friday afternoon. The weekend will see severe winter weather rolling through the Northeast. Forecasters say parts of Pennsylvania, New York, and New England could be in for their first significant snowfall of the season. It may be southern New York's first brush with snow this winter, but folks upstate near Buffalo have already had to use their shovels in recent weeks after a winter storm around Thanksgiving. The snowy weather is expected to hang over parts of the Northeast through Sunday. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
The storm system, which is expected to bring possible heavy rain and strong winds to the mid-Atlantic on Saturday, will head off the east coast late Sunday.
Well, some areas of West Texas saw a little snow today. We'll talk about where coming up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, before the rain made it into the Trans-Pecos Permian Basin and dropped 1/100th to 5/100th of an inch of rain, look what it did in the Davis Mountains. Stephen Hamilton showing us this view from the Davis Mountains around Fort Davis of just a dusting of snow that moved across a little bit earlier today as those temperatures were at or a little bit below freezing in those higher elevations. That has quickly cleared out to the east. A quick shot at some showers across the Midland, Odessa, and Big Spring area, but that is cleared out over towards the Big Country, the Concho Valley, down into the Texas Hill Country, all associated with this big storm system moving into the plains now. We're kind of getting on the backside of it. That's why we saw those gusty west winds behind that system. And there's a little bit of ridge of high pressure here that's going to build in for the next few days before the next storm system affects us late in the weekend and especially the early part of next week. So these things are moving across every 2 to 3 days with changes to our forecast as temperatures remain on the chilly side. Again, you can see the better rains moving in around Abilene, Weatherford, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, down towards Fredericksburg and San Antonio, dealing with some showers and a few showers even down towards Corpus Christi and Brownsville. We'll pick up the snows up across portions of Amarillo, back over towards Albuquerque into portions of New Mexico with the freezing temperatures there. A little chilly though here in the Permian Basin with 38 degrees, a little milder where we're still seeing a southeasterly wind and temperatures into the 50s ahead of that system that's going to clear the area a little bit later on tonight. We're going to be left with a lot of sunshine in our forecast, so pretty quiet conditions on the way for the end of the week and the start of the weekend. Just a mix of high clouds and sun in the forecast, it looks like, coming up for Saturday. So the rest of tonight, again, it is going to get cold tonight as we'll see temperatures dip down close to freezing across parts of the Permian Basin, below it across southeast New Mexico, but rebound a little bit tomorrow with plenty of sunshine on the way and some gusty west winds in our forecast. Now the wind starts to pick up once again late on Sunday into Monday. That's when we'll see the next Pacific storm system and cold front with some chilly air and maybe a quick shot at some showers. And then temperatures going back up for the middle part of next week before a series of cold fronts and maybe even some Arctic air will bring winter chill back to our forecast late next week into the following weekend.
Still ahead, presidential candidates Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis are facing tough questions on the campaign trail. With 11 days until the Iowa caucus, time is running out for the presidential hopefuls to close this gap on former President Trump. This story next on CBS 7 News at 9. With just 11 days until the Iowa caucuses, Republican presidential hopefuls are taking tough questions from the voters on the trail. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley are speaking directly to Iowa voters again tonight as they appear in back-to-back town halls hosted by CNN. Our Washington correspondent Julia Benbrook gives us a look at their final push in early voting states.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley are looking to beat the odds, as polls indicate that they are battling it out for second place in the race for the GOP nomination.
First of all, I don't play for second. I never have, and I'm not going to start now.
I really believe if you guys come out and stand by me on January 15th and we do this thing in a big way, I'm going to be the next president.
Despite Donald Trump's commanding lead, his top competitors have been hesitant to criticize the former president directly on the trail. During a campaign stop in Iowa, a voter accused DeSantis of going soft on the frontrunner.
So I think what the media wants is they want Republican candidates to just kind of like smear him personally and kind of do that. That's just not how I roll.
While DeSantis has gone all in on Iowa, Haley made it clear she's already eyeing next steps as she spoke to a crowd in New Hampshire.
You know Iowa starts it, you know that you correct it, and then my sweet state of South Carolina brings it home.
That comment received immediate pushback from Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, who's supporting DeSantis in the primary. On social media, Reynolds said, quote, "I trust Iowans to make their own decisions. No corrections needed." DeSantis and Haley will speak directly to those Iowa voters again Thursday evening in back-to-back town halls hosted by CNN. The town halls are happening just hours after a shooting at an Iowa high school just about 40 miles away from the town hall venue. With that shooting top of mind for voters in the audience, it will be interesting to see how the candidates handle any gun control questions that are asked. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Still ahead, NASA is inviting the public to send their names to the surface of the moon aboard the agency's first robotic lunar rover. We'll tell you how you can be a part of the mission next here on CBS7 News at 9. Okay, Tom, have you ever wanted to go to the moon?
Yes.
Okay, well now you can, and you don't even have to leave West Texas. NASA is inviting members of the public to send their names to the moon aboard its first ever robotic lunar rover. It's called Viper. The rover will be heading to the moon's south pole, where it will study the water and environment. That's also where NASA plans on landing the first woman and first person of color under its Artemis program. You have until March 15th to submit your name to NASA's website, where you'll also be able to download a boarding pass featuring your name.
They've done this before.
Yeah.
They had one where you could, on the Cassini probe that went to Saturn a few years ago.
That's pretty cool.
The Titan lander,
Yeah.
you could put your name on that. It was on a digital file. And they just wrapped one up at the end of the year, the Europa Clipper that's going to a moon around Jupiter. You could also send your name. So I sent my 3 grandkids.
That's really cool. Well,
Yeah.
Tom, I've heard it's really cold in space.
Is
it colder than it is here in West Texas right now?
A little bit, but it's chilly enough out there, especially right now with our wind chills into the lower 30s. Tonight we're going to get down to around 32 degrees. But tomorrow, though, an improved day, more sunshine on the way, mid-50s in the forecast. and then we'll see things again stay pretty nice coming up for the weekend by January standards before the next system starts to roll in early next week.
Okay, so light cardigans for tomorrow, nothing crazy,
Yes,
no more
yes.
heavy coats or anything like that. That's good.
Yeah,
Good.
for the time being, but next week a little bit different story.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for CBS 7 News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news coming up on CBS 7 News at 10.